Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a profoundly deep psychological idea from the second word, why faith carries a seed of paradise. We're going to unpack exactly how our foundational belief systems are literally constructing the reality we experience every single day and why that specific seed contains the absolute blueprint for a meaningful life. So, to kick us off, we've got to ask the core question here. Why exactly is faith compared to the seed of a paradise tree? It's a really specific comparison, right? Usually, when we hear words like paradise or heaven, we immediately fast forward to the future, to the afterlife. But our source text does something incredibly compelling. It shifts the timeline entirely. It's asking us to look at how our belief systems are shaping our present internal reality. It argues that faith isn't just some destination you arrive at later, it's a seed you're planting inside your mind right now.
All right, let's break this down by looking at two very different seeds.
To really get this, we first have to think about the mechanics of a seed. What is a seed, really? By definition, it's this tiny little object, but it contains the entire blueprint and future direction of a massive tree. Just think about a tiny acorn holding all the data for a towering oak tree. The text uses this micro to macro metaphor so beautifully to show how our incredibly small, seemingly passing thoughts actually dictate our vast, sprawling inner worlds. A single thought is never just a thought. It's literally a blueprint for your psychological landscape. First up, we have what the text calls the Tuba tree, or the tree of faith. Let's look at this spiritual seed. The crucial point here is how a person equipped with a lens of faith actually views their existence. First off, they see that the world is not ownerless. It has a creator. Second, beings aren't just random, cosmic accidents. They're servants of God. Third, living things aren't just wandering aimlessly. They are duty-bound travelers. And finally, life itself is a meaningful test, not just some chaotic free-for-all. When this specific seed sprouts in your mind, it turns an otherwise terrifying random universe into a deeply structured, purposeful journey. And here's where it gets really profound. How does this worldview tackle the heaviest subject of all? Death. In this view, death is an absolute nothingness. It's simply a transition to another realm. That is a massive cognitive reframe. If you're growing the tuba tree in your mind, the ultimate human fear, death, shifts from an absolute, terrifying end into a mere continuation. It's kind of like just walking from one room into another. You can see how this seed immediately starts bearing the psychological fruit of comfort in the present moment. But what happens if we plant the opposite? Let's explore the Zachem seed of denial. If you plant the Zachem seed, the worldview completely inverts. Suddenly, the world is seen as entirely ownerless. Life, just a mere coincidence. Death becomes this absolute, terrifying nothingness. And the universe is just a cold, empty void. Imagine actually living inside that mental blueprint every single day. In that psychological reality, every time you love someone, you're just waiting for a permanent loss. Every living being is seen as a doomed orphan destined for nothingness. That is an incredibly heavy burden to carry on your shoulders. So when we put these two yields side by side, the contrast is wild. Faith produces hope, trust, and this sense of friendship with the universe, while denial produces intense loneliness and fear. And this proves the core point of the second word. Our beliefs are actively creating our current internal heaven or hell. The emotional payoff is immediate. You aren't waiting around to experience paradise or hell. You're cultivating their emotional atmospheres in your heart right now, based entirely on the worldview you subscribe to. Now, you might be wondering, okay, but what about pain? Let's talk about pain and meaning. I absolutely love how the text grounds this. It is super realistic. It literally says, this does not mean a believer never gets sad. It totally disrupts that modern idea of toxic positivity, right? The text is clear. Believers still cry. They still experience fear. They still struggle with the immense, heavy difficulties of life. Having the seed of paradise in your heart doesn't mean your life suddenly becomes this flawless, pain-free bubble. So what's the actual difference then? It's simple, but it's huge. You are not entirely alone in your pain, and your experiences are not meaningless. Faith doesn't give you a free pass from pain. It provides ultimate meaning and profound companionship within it. It's the vast difference between suffering a random, cruel injury for absolutely no reason versus undergoing a painful medical procedure that you know has a purpose and a wise doctor overseeing it. Both hurt, for sure, but only one carries meaning. So, that brings us to the practical part. Which tree are you growing? We all have these contrasting internal monologues that pop up daily, right? On one side, on a bad day, the voice says, oh, nothing has meaning. But on the other side, the voice says, life isn't ownerless, even if I can't see the wisdom right now. I want you to genuinely reflect for a second. In your daily internal dialogue, especially when things go wrong and you feel super stressed, which of these two thoughts are you actively feeding? Which seed are you watering? The source text actually provides a really specific cognitive reframing exercise, and I want to guide you through it right now. It's brilliantly simple. Step 1, write down a pessimistic sentence you've been telling yourself today. Step 2, add the correct, hopeful counterpart derived from the lens of faith. We're turning passive viewing into active psychological participation here. For instance, instead of letting your brain spiral and say, everything is over, you actively stop and reframe it to, okay, this period is over, but my entire life isn't over. Do you feel the difference in weight there? The first sentence is a seed of absolute despair, the Zakum tree. The second sentence is a seed of hope, perspective, and transition, the Tuba tree. It's such a practical, effective way to actually apply this deep philosophy today. Because here is the undeniable psychological truth we have to take away from the text. Every single thought is a seed, and as it's repeated, it takes root. You don't grow a massive oak tree overnight, and you definitely don't grow a paradise or a hell in your mind with just one isolated thought. It is all about repetition. Repetition is what turns a fleeting, passing idea into a deeply rooted, permanent psychological reality. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative question to chew on. Which tree's seed are you growing in your heart? Take a real look at your inner garden today. Are you planting and watering seeds of hope, connection, and profound purpose? Or are you tending to seeds of emptiness, coincidence, and fear? The choice and the daily watering is entirely up to you. Thank you so much for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.